Okay, I'm here in this possibly about see it old brown street. Now, Lappin Web is an exclusive jewelry store for the rich. Now, every season they would produce wristwatches and jewelry for the very selective number of people. Just like the fur activist that I saw opposite the Harvey Nichols, it is what do you call the greed, the extortionate amount of consumption that we cannot stop for every season, every occasion, every weather condition, and every event that will change our clothes. And if you were to be in a winter season, you would have four main coats: a lightweight, featherweight, a soft weight, and a spring-summer weight, and a heavy winter weight, and so on and so forth. On the street or on street, on both sides here, you would find the people come here to, most of the people who would be walking by just looking through those windows, and hardly a selective number would be entering these stores to make a purchase. That one purchase that's been made is more than enough for the daily salary of the staff who's maybe working in there. That said, sometimes you might sell 10 items that might increase the revenue for that business for about the next 6 months to come. Majority of the clothes in there are selectively bought by few individuals, and most of the time it is worn once or twice. Okay, just to sort of recap, walking down Bond Street, majority of the time on this stretch of the street you would find people would be browsing through those windows. Quite unlikely one would walk into a store to make a purchase, or even to actually be able to feel the factor of the actual luxurious amount. Now, most of the luxurious brands on this stretch of street is bought by very selective few individuals around the planet that would contribute towards the salaries and the workers who would actually be making those clothes. And a lot of the time it is a case that hardly the numbers who would walk in there would make a purchase. And if you look on this main stretch of the street, it's mostly always very busy, but they will always look for that bargain. That bargain is hard to come by, and there's sort of the egoistic, the revving of a car, and that it said that again explains that we are in a focus, we are in a direct sort of mind, that we're only looking in one direction, which is sort of blinded by a lot of the consumerism of aspect of life. And that said, I should say that it is sad that these large corporations, these large companies are continue to make those large margins in terms of selling these articles, and much of the time those articles are being made just for one particular event. It could be for a ceremonial event, or that could also be for a aspect of one very unusual and one-off event. Having said that, it is really important to focus on our aspect of our self-greed, the self-consumption, and the consciousness of our consumption on this planet. We would not be able to continue to sustain that that excessive amount of consumption. As I was walking past Harvey Nichols, those stores are actually people. There was a whole bundle of people that were in opposite Harvey Nichols. All they were doing was very much protesting against the animal fur. Now, animal fur is heavily been consumed in Far East, most importantly, well, there we are. Two police officers chasing a couple of the guys who may have been noticed by somewhat noticed through some sort of a steal. There have been one has been apprehended by the police, and the other have been running through his backside. Now, this is what happens when you have overwhelming consumption greed and the consumption of the planet. Our world is becoming such that we are unable to sustain our greed. Hence, we find two police officers there caught one of the chaps who's been running through, I presume, has been caught for stealing or extortion, I suppose. And it is a case always that the world is becoming such a place that we are unable to keep ourselves in order of discipline, an order of law, because we all trying to achieve that same target, the greedy world that we live in. A bright Saturday evening, and I walked past. Where did I walk past? The Knightsbridge Harvey Nichols, and what I found there was the protesters from Britain protesting about animal fur and how we abuse and treat animals. It's incredible that people who are protesting against that company or the department store were not even aware that the store is changed hands from a British company to a Hong Kong-based businessman, and majority of the sales of those fur coats would be occurring in the Far East, where the overconsumption of luxury goods is being carried out these days. The transactions being carried out these days. None of those luxurious transactions are had here in the UK, and only about another 200 meters away from Harvey Nichols is the department store called Harrods. Now, Harrods department store is owned by, it's been changed hands several times, once to an Egyptian and then with the Qatari royal family, and majority of the items that are sold on there are luxurious goods, and mainly sold to the families from the Middle East and the Far East. Very little is being bought here in the UK. So our challenge is facing these overindulging societies of the world and the ever increasing population of the Far East and the Middle East. To keep up the demand of their overconsumption and the greed on luxurious goods will continue to increase, moreover than here in the Western world. So yet again, you will find that the Western world's capacity to make purchases of luxurious items and goods will very slowly come to a very much a downgraded slope. Compare that to the the demand and the need for the people of the Far East. Once again, we are seeing the struggle that the world is faced here. Much of the time, it is the struggle of the divide, the rich and the poor of this world, and it will continue to have that gap, and it will continue to increase that gap and cause so much struggle and so much division in this planet.